which gives rise to mountain ranges, which gives stability to the surface of the earth. The Holy Quran says in Surah Naba, chapter 78, verse number 6 and 7, that we have made the earth as an expanse, wal jibal autada, and the mountains as stakes. The Arabic word autad means pegs, like tent pegs or stakes. And today we have come to know that the mountain goes deep underground and its roots give stability to the earth. And the Holy Quran describes this further in Surah Al-Anbiya, chapter 21, verse number 31, as well as in Surah Luqman, chapter 31, verse number 10, that we have set on the earth mountains standing firm, lest it would shake. In the field of oceanology, the Holy Quran says in Surah Furqan, chapter 25, verse number 53, it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who has created two bodies of flowing water, one sweet and palpable and the other salt and bitter. And between them there is a barzakh, a barrier, which is forbidden to be trespassed. The Quran repeats the message in Surah Rahman, chapter 55, verse number 19 and 20, Marajal Bahrain yaltaqiyan, bainahuma barzakh la yabghiyan, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has set free two bodies of flowing water, and between them there is a barzakh, an unseen barrier which is forbidden to be trespassed. Previously, the commentators of the Quran could not understand what did the Quran mean by saying the flowing waters meet but they do not mix. Today we have come to know that there are two types of water, salt and sweet water, and between them there is a slanting transitional area, and whenever these water meet and when one water flows into the other type of water, it loses its constituents and gets homogenized into the water it flows. It's known as a transitional homogenizing area, which the Holy Quran refers to as barzakh, an unseen barrier. And this phenomena can very well be observed at Cape Point, that's the southernmost tip of Africa, as well as in Egypt when River Nile flows into the Mediterranean Sea. And one of the very good examples is the Gulf Stream. It travels for thousands of miles, but yet the water is distinct, the salt and the sweet water. In the field of biology, the Holy Quran says in Surah Al-Anbiya, chapter 21, verse number 30, وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ هَيْ أَفَلَا يُؤْمِنُونَ, we have created every living thing from water. Will you not then believe? Imagine, in the deserts of Arabia, the Holy Quran said 1400 years ago that every living thing is made from water. Who would have believed in the Holy Quran? Where there was scarcity of water, the Quran says every living thing is made from water. Today we have come to know, after science has advanced, that every living cell, the basic constituent is the cytoplasm, which contains about 80% water, and every living thing contains about 50 to 90% water. And the Holy Quran says in Surah Nur, chapter 24, verse number 45, that we have created every animal from water. The Quran says in Surah Furqan, chapter 25, verse number 54, we have created every human being from water. In the field of botany, previously we did not know that even the plants have got sexes, male and female. It's recently that we have discovered that even the plants have got sexes, male and female. The Holy Quran says in Surah Taha, chapter number 20, verse number 53, it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who has sent down water from the sky and has brought forth diverse pairs of plant, each separate from the other. The Quran says in Surah Ra'd, chapter number 13, verse number 3, we have created every kind of fruit in pairs, twos and twos. Even the unisexual fruits, like the banana, they have distinct characteristics of male and female. In the field of zoology, the Holy Quran says in Surah Nahl, chapter number 16, verse number 68 and 69, that the Lord has taught the bees to build cells in hills, trees, and human habitation, and to eat of what the earth produces, and to find the spacious path of the Lord with great skill. What does the Quran mean by saying to find the spacious path of the Lord with great skill? Today we have come to know by photographic methods that whenever a bee finds a new flower or a new garden, it gives the exact direction of the new flower or garden to its fellow bee by a particular movement of the body known as the bee dance. And the Holy Quran says in Surah Nahl, chapter 16, verse number 60 and 69, that it is the female bee which is the worker bee. Previously we thought it was the male bee which was the worker bee. No wonder Shakespeare in his play Henry IV says the soldier bees are male bees and they report to the king. Today we have come to know that the soldier bee is not the male bee but it's the female bee. And they don't report to the king but they report to the queen. Imagine. The Holy Quran even mentions the gender of the bee as a female gender 1400 years ago. The Holy Quran says in Surah Ankabut, chapter 29, verse number 41, that as to those who take for protectors anyone besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they build for themselves houses like that of the spider. And verily, the house of the spider is flimsy. Besides the Holy Quran describing the physical nature of the house of the spider, it is flimsy and delicate, that those who take for protectors anyone besides Allah, they build for themselves houses like the spider, which is flimsy and delicate. It also gives an indication of the relationship of the family of the spider, which we have come to know today, that many a times the female spider kills the male spider. The Holy Quran says in Surah Namal, chapter 27, verse number 17 and 18, that when Solomon and his army of jinns, men, and birds, when they marched, and when they approached a lowly valley of ants, one of the ants said, O ye ants, get into the habitations, lest Solomon and his army unknowingly will trample you beneath the feet. People may think that what kind of a fairy tale book is the Holy Quran? The ants speaking among themselves, it sounds like a fairy tale book. But today we have come to know that the animal or insect which has the closest resemblance to that of the human beings is the ant. The lifestyle very much resembles that of the human being. They have a very sophisticated method of labor in which they have a foreman, a supervisor, a manager, a worker, etc. They bury the dead the same way as the human beings do. They have a very sophisticated method of communication. They very often meet to chat, and they even have marketplaces where they exchange goods. Like how we human beings have marketplaces where we exchange goods, the ants have the same. And whenever they store the grain, and if the grain begins to bud, the ants, they cut the bud as though they knew that budding will cause rotting of the grain. And if the grain gets wet in monsoon, they get the grain out in the sunlight to dry, as though they knew that humidity will cause rotting of the grain. In the field of medicine, the Holy Quran says in Surah Nahl, chapter number 16, verse number 68 and 69, that from the belly of the bee we give you to drink a drink of varying colors, in which there is healing for human beings. Previously we did not know that the honey comes from the belly of the bee. It's recently we have discovered that. And today we have come to know that honey is rich in vitamin K and fructose. And it also has a healing power and a mild antiseptic property. No wonder the Russian soldiers used honey to cover up their wound. The wound retained the moisture and left very little scar tissue. And if a person is suffering from allergy of a particular plant, and if honey produced from that plant is given to that patient, he starts developing resistance to that allergy. In the field of embryology,